Get him. Yep.
Oh, my lure was screwed up. Did you see that?
Yes.
It was whopper pop.
Hi, Ellis Ward here. Are you fishing streamers? Take that from the top. Hi, this is for the streamer junkies out there. How's my hair? I mean, it's not awful. I have, we are right into it. Please forgive the imperfect. Please forgive my imperfections. And if you have anything to say about it, go. I moved into a room that feels like I should have a big snifter of brandy. I'm not sure what a snifter is, and it isn't that I'm completely unsure what a snifter is, right? I do know it's a glass. Anyways, it's echoey in here. You can see there's a box, which is, if it wasn't for the noise, right? Because it's a little echoey, because nothing's on the walls. This is a priority, right? Things are, I'm gonna get everything set up the way I want it, and then I'll be ripping. Fast forward, not very long. Two pieces of 2x4 and a box of materials. Thankfully, I have some rabbit out from tying a mousefly last night, so I don't need to get into that thing right there. But yeah, new space. Feels good. I'm about to go mouse and wanted to get something out, you know? Want to get something going. Want to get a little momentum. It's been a little too long and completely irregular in, I'm not sure what this is, but at the risk of sounding like a boy who cried wolf, I'll let subsequent actions define my character instead of claiming to do things and then, you know, it's that I want to do more regular stuff. I want to do some podcast stuff. I want to do more time videos, some fishing videos, like all the stuff that works, right? There's been, everyone's always asking me, Ellis, how do you keep your nails so clean? And I tell them, a little bit of acetone and a toothpick, and you don't need like a fancy toothpick. You just go to the dollar store and you get, seriously though, great little disposable bodkin for epoxy. Go to the dollar store and get these little plastic tubes of toothpicks. I had a bunch. I need to go get more. It's an awesome because when you get the bodkin out and you're using the flex just somehow gets everywhere, and then you realize, let's say you're tying some flies in the morning, and you realize that something, I would hold a fly in my mouth while I'm getting a knot ready or something. I've since realized that I've altered some behaviors. I've not gotten UV resin on or around my mouth in a while. I'm pretty sure it's because I don't put the UV resin in my mouth, but I'll have to think about that. Anyways, we are off to a ripping start already, and a couple things I wanted to get out there. One, peacock bass fishing in Colombia on the Tomo River. Contact me, hit me up, message me, whatever. Find me and talk to me if you're interested in doing that. There's another option for vampire fish and catfish, which is a little more like rustic or remote. But two options. That's last week of January and first week of February, 2026. Muskie trips starting this fall. So I'm kind of working backwards from like going to Colombia. We need to start getting ducks in a row now, because that's flight planning, and basically all you need to do is get there, and then a plane will pick you up. A plane will pick us up. I'll see you in Bogota. This will be interesting. I'll have never met you before, and then I just see you in Bogota. And then we go to the jungle together for 6 days. Oh, man. It's been more of the same, trying to stay in between the lanes and entertain myself in my own head with shit like that. And I do a pretty good job of those two things. The rest of this stuff, pretty good job too. Colombia, muskie fishing. It's gonna be here. I hate it. I hate it so much. I'm 37, and it feels like I'm the mom or the dad or the something that just comes in. Now, granted, I'm not talking to 10-year-olds, but coming in and just being like, summer's almost over. It just started, okay? But I know everyone gets busy. Stuff happens. It's been a month. Oh my God, it's mid to late August. You got something else teed up. Now you're not muskie fishing. And it's January. And then you're making excuses because you're soft. And look, you're never going to catch a muskie anyways. So I feel like I'm not winning. That's not the clientele that I'm looking for. Start thinking about stuff so that when summer's over, you have something to look forward to. That's both a selling point and some, I think, pretty reasonable advice. Get in my boat now. Not now, but July, August, September. October was my busiest month last year, and that's for trout, and that's really when I want to start pushing my chips towards the muskies. And we have almost all summer. I fish primarily the headwaters, or darn near the headwaters of the French Broad River system, and there's about 20 or over 20 miles of it that stay about 70 throughout low water, high sun, summer highs. So we're cooking with gas. I had a guy ask me, "How do you keep your hands so clean?" He asked me about muskie trips, and he had contacted a fly shop, and they said that the muskies were shut down because the water temperatures, which were like at that point 65 or something like that, slow the muskie metabolism down. And it's just like, oh, man, I'm not going to be bent out of shape, because that's, at the end of the day, those folks aren't taking my piece of the pie. But I did learn something recently. I learned a lot of things. This is one. This is one of them. Lying is the, shout out Marv. Lying is falsifying information with the intent to deceive. So I don't think that, a lot of people in the fly shop, angling community, whatever, are lying necessarily. I do think that what they meant to say is, we aren't running muskie trips, and the only time we do that is when our trout guiding business is slow, and during the warmer months we are predominantly an ecotourism company. So please don't ask about muskie fishing. Also, we're not going to give you any pertinent information as to how you might be able to muskie fish or what the options are. And then here's some wrong information. So little snarky on that just now, which I'm going to be okay with. I hold back too much. Muskies, browns. Dude, get here and mouse, all right? I'm going to tie... What am I going to tie? I'm going to tie I want to say spaghetti head mouse. I promise I came up with putting, cutting up strips of foam and putting it into a dubbing loop. And like is often the case, I did think that I was God's gift to fly tying and, engineering, the concept of ingenuity. Not very long after that, I did see that there was actually there's a product called fettuccine foam, which means that not only was I not the first one to come up with this, someone had come up with it. If you have a product out there, like someone's been doing this for a long time, which also means that lots of people have been doing it for a long time. And I'm not. I have to be honest. I don't consume as much tying content or fly fishing content as maybe I used to, or maybe as would keep me competitively relevant, but I can't. So I do know that Brian Weiss ties the knucklehead. I'm not sure if I'm almost certain that he stacks, based on some of the pictures that I've seen. So unfortunately I can't claim something, but I can claim other things. So we'll go ahead and tie the. I just have it in my head, so we'll just get it out there, right? We're gonna tie the mini spaghetti mouse, and what are we gonna do in the process? We are going to improve upon our understanding of ourselves and those around us, thus offering the world a more genuine understanding of who we are, and in the process, giving ourselves a better understanding of who we are and what the world might mean to us. Sometimes, man. I'm looking at a little baggie of plastic metal, putting a 35 millimeter shank into the hole of a B10S. I got size 6. I don't think it's going to go as I'd like it to, and I need to get some 4s. Yeah, it's just a little tight. I don't know. Yeah, it's too tight to get around the bend, so here's the deal. I want to get trout pinned up with more regularity, and there's an unfortunate part of mousing wherein sometimes you just don't connect, but I really want to do everything I can to maximize when we have our opportunities what that connection rate looks like. And so you think, okay, hook points, right? No, I had a client show me a fly with 3 hooks on it, and I've seen this before. What you end up with I'm not going mousing tonight. I am. What you end up with is, I'm going to do just on a piece of cardboard here. I don't have my printer, any paper, anything else. Not saying these are on a scale. But here's the deal. The trout mouth can only get hooked if it is in, this camera finds my eyes, if it's in there, if it gets into there. It's not like these hook points are these, singularities that exist in the universe with nothing else attached. That's a bite guard. That's a bite guard. That's a bite guard. So the Aberdeen bend and the 3x whatever, if you have if that bend comes in and the flat part after the hook bend, I'm sure there's terminology for this. Someone who makes flies and lures and shit for a living should probably know that, but mechanically speaking, unimportant. That part, until I'm making hooks, we'll cross that bridge when we get there. That's a bite guard, right? Which is why you need to have your second hook in an articulated fly set back. You can't have this and then a hook here. Meh, meh. Because the trout mouth is not going to hit that point up here. There's a big piece of metal that if they try to bite it... All right, you're getting me off track, and I'm trying to stay on track. This is still going to be... We're going to use man, I don't even know, man. I've made a decision here. We're going to go with the B10S. I gotta do a hook order. Size 1. I'm doing no shank. And it, might not feel as mini. Okay, I'm making promises to both you and to myself that I'm gonna get the things I need to get and then also have them set up in order to feel like I'm not just slapping shit together. We have a size 1 B10S. So we're sort of going away from everything that I said. And at the end of the day, sometimes that works. So the problem, right, is that maybe you get a splashy eat. This is just a rabbit zonker. That's going to be like his little tail. Little cute mousy tail. And what we're also going to do is we're just going to throw a little UV flex on that. Not a lot. It kind of soaks into the rabbit hide. Man, you get a good batch of rabbit zonkers. Shoot. You know what I'm saying? Just something about them. Now I did want to get some foam and tie with it. All right, hold please. Oh, buddy. So the reason that I want to use quiet down The reason that I want to use foam specifically here is to create profile. So many different questions trying to be answered all at once, as always, which is, I think, why tying can be challenging and gratifying and lots of different things. So we need to have it float. Not too floaty. We want it to be grabby in the water so that it creates a wake. In doing that, that's just, I tie that on upside down because I will be wrapping around. I'm actually going to give that a wrap. I experimented with this just a little bit. Kind of creating a little bump right there so that I can ramp my foam off of it. And this is 4mm, not cut straight. I tie this in a lot of different ways, very selfishly. Maybe not. Maybe you'll enjoy the brevity as well. I'm not going to go into the different ways right now. This is, I believe, 4 or 5mm. I think it's EVA foam. You get that on your favorite website for ordering foam products. Go to Michael's. Go to Hobby Lobby. And I can assure you that you will be exposed to not fly tying when you order it. It's nothing too crazy, you know, it's people making costumes and swords, wands, dragon horns, other mythical unicorn horns, hooves. I mean, look, foam and super glue, you could make a pretty reasonable house for a small animal with foam and super glue. So that pinching and bending back, that's just giving me more foam. It's not much, you're not gaining a whole lot beyond that. I am running out of thread. Oh, the flawless victory. Just like that. Seeing it here live. The impromptu flawless victory. So 1,000% you could fish it like that after you cut that rabbit hide off. And that can give you that sort of a gurgler style that can give you a nice whoop. If you're using the 2mm, especially if you're going up to a size 1 hook, double it up. And one of the reasons that I wrapped the zonker on before tying in the foam is to give myself a little more surface area on the hook, because otherwise you're compressing. I do want it wide, like I want it wide enough to be floating this guy and to give it a profile. Now comes the question, do I cut this off? We're going to say yes. And then, as always, feel free to do this in a more logical set of steps. We got some different thread types, varying tension. I don't want to go crazy on wrenching the foam down when I tie it in from the whole piece of foam down onto the hook shank, because it will split through. Now, for the fun part. Take your whatever you want, 2mm foam, cut it into really small strips, or take your fettuccine foam purchased from your local fly store. GSP, high-tack Swax. I've had a container of that from Loon. I use it on dubbing brushes. I mean, dude, I've had that for so long. A little dab will do ya. Speaking of little dabs, you're going to end up trimming a lot of this. You don't need... this does not need to be crazy long. So you know, you get to experiment with all of this and figure out what works, what doesn't, etc. What's fun for you, what isn't. I took to making complicated dubbing loops with GSP. I think this was after getting comfortable with putting craft fur in a dubbing loop. We're kind of falling apart at the seams, but that's okay. There was just this moment of like, oh, I can put anything in this. So this can be made much easier if you do a couple and you just you put it in while they're all still attached. I was kind of trying to save a couple pieces of foam here, which is just, it's habit. It's silly. So we have that rabbit giving us our splat, a little bit of our drag. And then this also, all the different touch points on this when you're, if you think about the tension being applied to the eye of the hook, you get some float, you get that V if you start going into the water a little bit, and you do get some nice little, some air bubbles, things of that nature. I have a couple of these guys going, and yeah, I like it. You know, it's fun. It is fun to fish. I do want something I can feel, because that's, even if I'm fishing a relatively small fly, which, whatever, I'll share thoughts on that somewhere else, another time. But even when you're fishing a relatively small fly, I want to be able to, if I'm lifting or if I'm stripping, I want to be able to feel that there is contact, there is drag in the water. And I also want to feel it whap, splat onto the water. And doing this little bit of carving, you're actually, with some less, with less material on the top. Check that. With less material on the bottom, more material on the top. You're kind of doing the fletchings on an arrow. You're promoting it turning over and landing. You know, the keel does a good job of that. But all these little things in isolation may not make or break. But shout out Jack, when I was talking about one thing or another not mattering. He was just like, yeah, but dude, if that one thing is 1%, right, and you do 50 of them, I can make a counter argument to that. If you do 50 of them, all of a sudden you're making a giant difference in whatever it is. I like to do these things all in one direction. So if you're doing these things with the intention of, one goal in mind, I think that all of them add up. All right. Trying to get that Rode mic from blinking too much at you. White rabbit hair is just as opaque as black rabbit hair. FYI. Opacity.